Marvellous. Okay. Thank you very much, and good morning and welcome to this meeting of the Combined Authorities Overview and Scrutiny Committee. We have a number of items of business to transact this morning, and we are quorate, so we are legitimately entitled to do so. I'd like to start then by taking item 1, which is apologies for absence and substitutions. If our scrutiny officer, Robert Fox, could run us through that, please.
Yes, we've just got the two apologies. Councillor Marcus Gearing from Cambridge City Council was provided his apologies, and he's been substituted by Councillor Dan Somervell. And the other apology we have is from Councillor Patricia Jordan from Huntingdonshire District Council, but she has no substitute.
Could I give an apology from Councillor Price? I know that Councillor Price can't come.
Okay, thank you very much.
So that's noted.
Thank you very much, Councillor Scott. We also, I believe, have Councillor Fain. I think you are technically still here as a substitute for Councillor Halings, but my understanding is that the board meeting of the Combined Authority on the 5th of August will confirm you as a full member of the committee, replacing Councillor Halings and with a fresh substitute. Is that your understanding also, Councillor Fain?
Sounds right to me, Chair.
Marvellous. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Robert. Can I take then item 2 and declarations of interest? Does anybody have anything that they need to declare on any of the items on the agenda? Take that as a no. Thank you. To move then on to item 3, the minutes of the previous meeting. Are members content to approve those as an accurate record of our meeting last month? If you are, oh, Councillor Mason, I see a blue hand.
Thank you, Chair. Slight amendment. Councillor Scanlon was not present at the last meeting. In fact, he stepped down now, and I've taken his place on behalf of Fenley District Council. So could the minutes be amended accordingly, please?
Okay. Thank you very much indeed for that. We'll make sure that that happens. Any other issues of accuracy on the minutes? I don't see anyone else wishing to raise anything, so we're happy to agree those with that amendment from Councillor Mason about Councillor Miscandlon. Thank you. Public questions. Scrutiny officer?
None have been notified.
Thank you very much indeed. So we move on to item 5 then, which is the Mayor of the Combined Authority, who is joining us as he does occasionally, and I think is being now admitted to the meeting. Good morning, Mayor Palmer.
Good morning. I was with you and then I dropped out and now I'm back again. So if I disappear, please accept my apologies. I am in the office, so I hope the broadband is strong enough.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Well, welcome back, Mayor Palmer. Before we move to questions, is there anything in particular on which you would like to update the Overview and Scrutiny Committee?
Well, I think so, since we met last time, obviously the Combined Authority has, as you would expect, carried on working at the level that it would be expected to, and we have received planning permission for Soham Railway Station, which work will begin in September of this year. We're hopeful that we are able to bring forward the opening of that to the end of 21. This is a scheme that certainly has been discussed locally for over 20 years, and I've been involved with for longer than I wish to really say. But it's the Combined Authority that, of course, has managed to move this forward. And I think as part of that, it also has challenged the GRIP process successfully and shaved at least 7 months off the delivery timescale. So alongside that, we've also announced our partner for Peterborough University, and very exciting again to bring forward a project we've only been working on for just over 3 years, but had languished again for over 20 years in the corridors of hope and possibility, is now in the sunlight of reality and delivery, and that work will begin on site in the autumn this year as well. In the meantime, we've also delivered our business case for Wisbeach Rail, which I think will be transformative for the Fenland area, and of course we've discussed delivery of that very positively with Minister Heaton Harris from DFT. I'm very proud of what we've achieved there. Again, it's another project that really was going nowhere, that will, I believe, through the intervention of the Combined Authority, bring delivery. I was very proud as well to join Councillor Count on his project at King's Dyke last week. £24.3 million from the Combined Authority is going forward to fund that project, another project that would not be delivered without the ability of the Combined Authority to get in and help local authorities to deliver. And I'm not sure if we go back far enough, but the last time I spoke to you, we've also managed to get £2.9 million of funding from the first tranche of cycling and walking funding from government, and we've already seen intervention in cycleways and widening of paths in our city centres and town centres. So the Combined Authority continues to deliver across Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. I've probably forgotten one or two things as well in that short statement, but we should be very, very, very proud of our intervention and what we've been able to achieve as this fledgling authority, only 3 years in, has managed to make such a difference.
Thank you very much indeed, Mayor Palmer. The committee has a number of questions that it would like to put to you, and we feel that it would be sensible to do that in 2 sections. The first section being the correspondence between yourself and the Minister, Simon Clarke, which has now been circulated yesterday afternoon to members of this committee. It's been mentioned in the press for some couple of weeks now, I think. We've got copies of that correspondence now as members of the committee, and I'd like to start as chair by running through one by one a number of issues in the letter from Simon Clarke, and then other members will chip in after that as they see fit. So can I start with that letter with the first paragraph, in which the Minister says, "You also raised the existing devolved architecture for transport delivery within Cambridgeshire and Peterborough and your proposals for reform. Could you tell us a little bit about what your proposals for reform were and what was your ask to the Minister?"
Well, it's been very, very public again that Cambridgeshire and Peterborough is the only combined authority with an existing city deal. Every other city deal in the country has been absorbed into the combined authority, and only Cambridgeshire and Peterborough has that. The problem with that is that we have one authority responsible for transport, the combined authority, is also responsible for setting transport policy for the entire county, spatial strategy, delivery of growth, and GVA doubling, etc. And we have a committee in Cambridge, the City Deal, which is working in some areas opposed to what the Combined Authority is trying to achieve. Now, I only have discussed the issues of the busways with the GCP. I've never got involved in any of their other policies, and our working arrangement has been minimal. But when policies are put forward, Chairman, that negatively affect other areas of the county and negatively affect the levelling up agenda that we have sought and we are achieving through the combined authority, and then I have to be able to put forward the points of the views of the whole of Cambridgeshire. It's my job as the elected representative for the entire county to make sure that decisions made in one part of the county do not negatively impact on decisions made in others. So I have discussed and I have put forward to the Greater Cambridge Partnership a number of options of how we could work in a more unified manner. Most notably, we very successfully delivered a failing LEP, let's be honest. It was shut down by government, I think probably about a month after I was elected. And we have very successfully brought the LEP into a governance structure in the combined authority, where the LEP has its independence and independent chairman, and it is not encumbered by political division. The only politicians on the LEP are myself and the deputy mayor, and we are there to oversee the governance structure, not to impose our views, and in fact we don't have voting rights either. So we felt very strongly that a version of that would be suitable for the city deal, in that it would keep its independence under the banner of the same governance structure. And we would end the anomaly of having effectively two transport policies for one county. The combined authority and mayors were elected chairman precisely to solve these kinds of issues. And that's the background really for this, this letter, I believe, from the civil servants signed by the minister, where they're saying to us that we've got a few small issues here we want you to deal with, but we understand what you're trying to achieve, and perhaps you can work alongside us to do that. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Okay, thank you. Other members may wish to return to that later, but I'll just run through my questions first, if I may. The second paragraph, the Minister has outlined conditions on which government would be prepared to enter into opening a discussion on governance reform. The Minister says he wants to see that happen. I wondered whether you could give us an indication of the timescales for those 4 conditions that were laid down in the Minister's letter. When do you expect all of this to be delivered?
Well, the reality is that 1 or 2 of those conditions are already, one in particular, the signing off of the buses for the Cambridge to Camborne route had already been dealt with before the minister's letter from civil servants came through. We are absolutely complicit on the other points, and my team have been working very closely with MHCLG to make sure that those individual 3 or 4 individual issues are sorted out, and we're very confident that our ability to help MHCLG and for us to have a mutual understanding of where we need to help them and where they can help us, and we're absolutely complicit with them in solving those issues. And I believe that we have, in actual fact, answered all those points already.
So when you meet the Minister in late August or early September, you will be saying to the Minister, all of those 4 points have been completed in their entirety?
Yes, absolutely. In actual fact, I'm meeting the Minister next Wednesday with a one-to-one meeting, and then there will be further meetings in September. But there is absolute compliance from the combined authority that we would deliver on those technical points that were made in the letter.
Is the meeting between officials at MHCLG and the co-chief executives taking place on 11th of August, as is indicated in the letter?
I don't think so, but I might be wrong. I haven't got my diary in front of me, to be honest with you, Chairman. So I can't give you a clear answer on that at this point. But the meeting I have in the diary next week is individually with Simon Clark.
Okay, thank you for that. The next thing I wanted to ask is, in the next paragraph, the need for the combined authority to demonstrate strong and robust governance and transparency arrangements. And there was a discussion of work that the co-chief executives have been progressing with the department. How far has that got to date?
Well, my chief executive has been working with the department since February on some minor technical points that have been asked by government. They continue to work with them. I believe that they are in regular contact with civil servants in MHCLG. So we, as I said, we are open and transparent, and we are compliant, and we are very much in delivering this in the spirit of what it's meant to be, which is making sure that everything is delivered the way that MHCLG have asked it to do so. And I would say that, Chairman, that as I said earlier, I was elected in May of 2017. On the day that I was elected, there were 4 members of staff of the Combined Authority. Our constitution was the ink on it was still wet. Our Combined Authority was not formed until May 2017. Every single other combined authority in the country had been formed well in advance of the mayoral election, some many years in advance. We have kept to the promise of having a lean authority. I believe that we are the leanest authority with the leanest amount of staff, but also the leanest staffing budget, and I'm very, very proud of that. Some of the issues that are mentioned, as you say, are 1 or 2 teething problems that you will get when you set up a brand new authority. And certainly, as I mentioned earlier, Chairman, the most important thing to me is delivery for the general public, and I believe that the general public are beginning to see the benefits of being part of a combined authority.
Thank you. On the next paragraph, the Minister talks about factual errors in the CPCA constitution. Have those been addressed?
Yeah, I mean, this is where it said errors. We were quite surprised, and of course we will discuss this further. My chief executive will discuss this further, but we understand from our discussions there was a single error of fact identified relating to the Mayor and CPCA's statutory power to appoint staff. This was corrected immediately, and it was as soon as it identified. And the Constitution is no longer refers to a lack of express power to appoint. So we're only aware at the moment, unless civil servants at MHCLG advise otherwise, of that particular error. So as I said, it was a very minor error which has already been corrected. And as I said on all other issues, Chairman, if MHCLG have concerns, then they only need to discuss with us, and those issues will be corrected immediately.
So have you proactively asked the Minister to clarify exactly what those errors are?
So,
or are you
as
just
I
waiting
said,
for him to tell you?
My civil servants are in conversation constantly with civil servants at MHCLG, and those points will be made and have been made.
So if we
I haven't written specifically on that issue, on that one issue to Simon Clark, if that's what your point is.
Right. So
if we will follow this issues up.
If we asked as a committee to see a list of those errors in the CPCA constitution, the CPCA would not currently be able to provide us with an answer.
Well, the one error that has been pointed out to us so far is the error of fact identified relating to the Mayor and the CPCA's statutory power to appoint staff. That's the one error that's been identified to us.
Right, so you're challenging the accuracy of that in that it's plural when you say it's singular. You've not asked for clarification of what those errors might be. We would not be in a position to be told what those errors are.
Well, as I said, work is ongoing. When we have further information, we would let you know. So I don't know whether factual errors at this moment in time is a typo, or whether or not there are more. But the only one that's been identified to the Combined Authority by staff at MHCLG is the one that I've mentioned.
Right, okay. The next point in that paragraph is that the CPCA Employment Committee was not always part of senior executive recruitments. Has that been rectified?
Yeah, well, I mean, yes. So the monitoring officer, and this is what it refers to, the monitoring officer was appointed directly by the board on the 28th of March 2020 without a recommendation of the Employment Committee first. This was the only appointment referred to in our discussion which did not involve the Employment Committee. Though there were particular circumstances relating to the decision to refer direct to the board, we have agreed that we will always seek to appoint to statutory and chief officer roles through Employment Committee.
Right, so you're giving us an assurance that that has now been rectified and cannot happen again.
Yeah, as I said, we've agreed that we will always seek to appoint to statutory and chief executive officer roles through Employment Committee.
Okay, thank you. The next point in that paragraph is that the legal advice behind the appointment of a political assistant and subsequent chief of staff role contains significant omissions. Could you tell us about those omissions, and could we please see the legal advice?
Well, I haven't got the legal advice in front of you, but I'm sure that if I would check with Robert Parkin to see if you are available to the Scrutiny Committee to see it, I have no issue, but I would ask the legal advice, please, on that.
Chair, happy to address that point. Obviously, you have an entitlement to have access to a variety of documents. I wouldn't be able to provide it to today's session. If I could take the question away and refer back, I'll want to have a discussion with the chief executive. But yeah, I can take that question away with a view to supplying it to yourself, Chair.
Thank you very much. I mean, I think anything else would be unreasonable. I'm more than happy for that to be circulated after the meeting.
So do you want me to answer that question, Chair? The other part of the question, which is, yeah. So legal advice on the appointment of political assistants and the application of the rules on political restriction was taken from a highly respected QC. In actual fact, am I able to name that QC, Mr. Parkin?
I don't see why not. So yeah, we instructed. It should be a matter of record that we instructed an individual. So I don't see why we shouldn't mention that.
So the person we went to was James Gowdy QC, who is the leading authority on local government appointments. The legal advice referred incorrectly to S112 Local Government Act 1972, which is the point referred to in paragraph 1. Other significant omissions have not been identified. So let me take you through this, Chairman. The CPCA sought legal advice from that was the point. The CPCA sought legal advice from a leading and highly respectable and reputable barrister ranked highly in the legal 500 for administrative and law on the approach that it had taken to the arrangements made on the merit office. Had the barrister advised that there was a problem with the arrangements or with the application of political restriction to those posts, then corrective action would have been taken. The CPCA developed a protocol in order to provide a public and transparent guide on how political assistants are employed in the Mayor's office. The CPCA consulted the monitoring officers of the constituent councils on the content of the protocol before its adoption. Changes that they proposed were made to the protocol before its adoption into the Constitution. At the centre of this issue are employees in the merit office and the political restriction of their posts. This can be seen as a significant restriction on the rights of those officers and has to be justified by reference to the 1989 Act. In light of the legal advice, the CPCA sought to strike a careful balance between the employees and the interests of the organisation. We did not have the benefit of we did not have the benefit of the MHCLG opinion at the time. The protocol was an attempt to set out clearly what that balance of responsibilities was. The employees concerned agreed these restrictions and acted in accordance with the protocol. The CPCA sought always to be mindful of the law and the application of appropriate arrangements with officers. It is agreed that the protocol will now reflect the position proposed by MHCLG. the implication of stating that the legal advice contains significant omissions, which was the point that I read out earlier, implies that the legal advice was wrong. Our understanding from discussions is that MHCLG takes a different interpretation of the law than the leading barrister we had consulted. The CPCA accepts that the MHCLG opinion is the better approach for employment of political officers within the Mayor's team, particularly in the light of the approach taken by other combined authorities, and is making the necessary changes to the Constitution as part of its Constitution review. So I just want to sort of go back. So that's the factual situation, and as I said, we're making the necessary changes as requested by MHCLG. I think, and please, I would ask, I'm sorry to jump in if I'm completely wrong here. As I said, the ink wasn't even dry on the Constitution of the Combined Authority when I was elected. And whilst other mayors had the position of political advisors written into their constitutions, the Combined Authority in Cambridgeshire was unique in that it didn't. And of course, the position of a special advisor in politics is a well-trodden path, but it isn't as well-trodden in local government. And that's why we went to the very best legal advice that we could take. And of course, we are at all times mindful of the legal situation and always take legal advice on decisions that we make. And as I said, we are absolutely content to abide by MHCLG's position on this, but we did not have at the time the benefit of that position to work to. And as I said, this is one of the teething problems that you get when you are a brand new authority. And you know, and as I said, we've always done what we've felt and what we've been told through legal advice is to be within the law.
Okay, thank you. So we're in a similar position to the position we're in, as you said, regarding the factual errors in the CPCA constitution, that there is something of a disagreement between between yourself and the minister as to what the nature of that is. And again, if we asked you for a list of the significant omissions, we would not be able to be provided with that.
Well, I mean, we can only work, with all due respect, Chairman, we can only work to what we've been told by civil servants at MHCLG, and if they've said that there is an issue, and where they've said there are issues, we absolutely have shown what we've done and where we would be compliant in the future. I don't think that we can do any more than be open and transparent on the legal advice that we've had, and to suggest that we would change that where necessary, where civil servants in London felt that the legal advice that we've been given was incorrect. But our job, of course, is to make sure that we stay within the law, and that's exactly why we would go to council, which is, I'm sure you'll understand, all the members of this group are authority members, and they are aware that what local authorities do when they have a question, a legal question, they go to council and get the correct advice, which is exactly what the combined authority has done at all times.
Okay, thank you. If we move on then to the second of the four areas of concern in the Minister's letter, this was the one about delivery capacity. How are you improving delivery capacity in the light of this letter? What advice are you seeking as part of that? It mentions also the departments writing to the co-chief executives in June with a differing view on total additional starts on site delivered to date, and confirming that further evidence of progress would be required. Can we see the letter to the co-chief executives so that we understand better what the differing view on those start on sites is, and any other areas of disagreement on that? So how are you improving capacity? What advice are you seeking in doing so? And can we see the correspondence and better understand that issue about a difference of view on the housing delivery?
Okay, so before I answer the question, I will again go to Robert Parkin and ask him the legal situation. Of course, as I said, I'm entirely happy for that to happen, but I need to ask legal advice. So on the letter, so Robert.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, just to guide me, this is the letters describing. I may need to ask Kim to just offer some clarification to me which letter we're referring to in this instance. Through you, Chair, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'm happy for Kim to answer that.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the letter was one of a series of letters concerning the affordable housing programme. Yes, the latest letter is the letter to us of the 11th of June. I think if we are quite happy, I think it is possible to release that to you, Chair. As we discussed earlier in the week, I would just like to, as a matter of courtesy, just let MHCLG know that we are publicly disclosing those letters, but I see no reason, absolutely no reason why we shouldn't disclose them. In fact, Chair, I think we should disclose all of the information, all of the correspondence around this, so you can see the efforts that we have been making to pursue the issues with MHCLG, which relate to the end date of the programme, because we have been consistently working from day one to an end date of March 2022. We were told in September of last year that that date was now going to be March 2021. We are still trying to establish why that position has come about. And this relates to obviously discussions made in the very early days of the combined authority, and you know, as we said, working at that time with a lot of temporary staff. So we are working with our colleagues in the constituent authorities now to try and establish what the correct date for the delivery of this programme is, and those discussions with MHCLG are still ongoing, and we have a meeting with them in September.
Thank you very much, Kim. That's very helpful. And I think, yes, if we could please see the correspondence at the earliest opportunity, that would very much enable us as a committee to fulfil our overview and scrutiny role. So thank you for that. Can I come back to Mayor Palmer then on improving the delivery capacity and what advice you received on doing that and how you're doing that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's been conjecture on this, and again it goes down, I believe, to the rushed nature of delivery of the devolution deal back in 2016. And the Affordable Housing Programme is a 5-year programme to deliver 2,500 homes. Funding was first paid to the CPCA in 2017, April 2017, and the 5-year programme was anticipated to run from April 2017 to March 2022. Programme suffered a setback in October of 2018 when the CPCA advised MHCLG that MHCLG had not provided the statutory powers necessary to deliver the scheme. This caused a 7-month delay in the programme where we weren't able to bring forward any houses at all. And whilst the statutory instrument rectified this, in September 2019, MHCLG officials told the CPCA that the delivery of the 5-year programme ended in March 2021, not March 2022. MHCLG and CPCA officers are continuing to discuss how to resolve this issue. And as I said, we'll be meeting in September, I hope, to resolve these issues once and for all. But it is, you know, it is very clear in the documentation that our scheme was due to end in 2022, and it is also a fact that we had a 7-month delay on our ability to deliver on these houses. So it is an issue that we have to solve, because they are saying that we have to have this delivery by by March 2021. And that they don't, or as yet haven't agreed to do anything about the 7-month delay. What I would say is I believe that we've brought forward, even under lockdown, significant numbers of new housing. And while I don't have the exact figures in front of me, I think that we are already at over 1,600 schemes funded. And of course, our target, I believe, is 2,000 for the Combined Authority and 500 for Cambridge City. So. You know, so we are well on track to deliver on the houses that we had planned within the timescale, certainly within the timescale that we've been working to. And as I said, it just feels like, from our perspective, that the goalposts have been slightly moved on this, and we need to understand why. And I'm very confident that we'll be able to come to an agreement in September, as has been put forward.
So you're confident that you will, as the letter requests, be able to provide further evidence of progress before the department can make further funding available?
Absolutely, we're progressing on all schemes, and you know, we brought forward extra schemes during lockdown. We are beginning to see sales of houses on some of our 40 million rolling fund. You know, there are significant interventions that we have made that are proving very positive. So we're very confident from a combined authority perspective that we would deliver in advance of the timescale that was set initially of March 2022. But given a 7-month delay, and then somebody taking a year out of the timescale that we worked to, then I would have to see if that's possible to deliver by March of next year. You know, we're already in August. If you take the 7-month delay out, then we're already at that position. So, you know, there have been issues that have affected us negatively, that are no fault of our own, but we have been delivering schemes across Cambridgeshire, and we are continuing to bring forward new schemes across Cambridgeshire. And, you know, we'll add, you know, we have been extremely innovative in our thinking and trying to bring forward better ways of delivering housing than what has gone before. And none of us, and I've always felt this, and I will say it again, none of us who have been involved in local authorities in Cambridgeshire for any amount of years would suggest that the status quo situation of housing associations and government grants has solved the problem of housing. It absolutely has not. And it has not solved the problems of affordability. And if you are a low earner and you live in a housing association home, your rent is significantly higher than a mortgage would be on the same house. And that's not a situation that I think is sustainable. And I will always rally against that and say there are better ways of doing what we've been doing. And, you know, and I've proved that in the 100k home, which is a home that if you earn 18,000, you can afford to buy, and the rent on a 100k home is significantly, about half, by the way, or even more than half in some areas of Cambridgeshire, of the market rent of a similar house, and significantly less than that of a housing association home. So I think we have to, whilst we have to be complicit, and we will be, and whilst we have to deliver, and we will, and we are delivering, we also have to challenge. We have to challenge MHCLG to say, is the current model the best way of delivering houses? And historically, as we're building 5,000 homes a year fewer in Cambridgeshire than we need, historically, I would suggest that there needs to be challenge to the current situation.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, and I'll try and move on as rapidly as I can because I know members will have other questions. The letter expresses concern at the lead member for finance and investment abstaining from a vote at the Combined Authorities June board meeting on reallocation of budgets, as he'd not been fully consulted on it, despite being named as the lead member on the report. Can you explain what happened?
Yeah, so the report was considered a board on the 3rd of June 2020, owing to a clerical error. There was a clerical error. The lead member of finance investments was named on the report when the mayor was the lead member for the report. The monitoring officer was notified of the error on 29th of May 2020, and a correction was immediately made and a corrected report published that day. Unfortunately, the lead member didn't receive that corrected report, but the official papers did not have his name on it. And just to give you some background, I was tasked in March 2020 by the board to develop a response to COVID, and I worked closely with the officers at CPCA over 2 months to review the priorities in the CPCA and the budgets. The purpose of the exercise was to direct funds to help businesses who were affected by the crisis, and we took a report to board in June, making £5.4 million of COVID grants and 500k of COVID micro grants available to help local businesses who did not have access to government funding. And you know, those interventions alone saved around 700 jobs and created around 240 jobs right in the middle of the crisis. Added to that, the fact that we were able to repurpose some of the funding that we have means that we're able to invest significant funds, not only into our market towns, and each of the market towns in Cambridgeshire will receive around £1 million, which is incredible amounts of money for small towns to get, but also that money is there not just to try and help their high streets, but also to help businesses within the towns. And let me assure you, Chairman and members of the board, what we've seen by the interventions of the capital grant, the COVID capital grant, the difference that capital grants of £2,000, £3,000, £4,000 can make to businesses is absolutely massive. And it allows them to invest back into their business at a time where it's been quite difficult. So this piece of work, we did exactly what we said we were asked to do. I was asked to find solutions and try and repurpose some of the finance. It's exactly what we've done. And as I said, there was a clerical error on the paper, but I do believe that the member said that he was supportive of the paper, but just felt that as his name was on it, he couldn't vote for it. And as I said, that was a clerical error which was officially made on the 29th of May 2020, or rectified rather.
Okay, let's move swiftly on then. The Minister wants to see a full, open and transparent appointment process to recruit a new permanent Chief Executive to be and the appointment to be made in May 2021. What are your plans for delivering on that?
Well, that was always in our minds anyway. Our current Chief Executive arrangement ends in 2021. I think that our Chief Execs have been exceptional from the position we were in when the previous Chief Exec resigned from his position. The budget issues that we had to turn that around to make 1.4 million savings per year to the authority, which we did, to bring forward a staffing structure which as I said is the leanest of any combined authority, and still deliver on major projects across the whole of Cambridgeshire, I think is something that they should be very proud of. I am very, very proud of that. But it was an appointment until May 2021. So we are absolutely in accordance with government that we would go through that process again. And of course, if I'm elected mayor, then I would happily end that process at the beginning of May 2021, at the end of May 2021. And if somebody else is elected mayor, well, they will choose the chief exec that they want.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the third issue and the disagreements continuing between the Combined Authority and GCP, which in the view of the Minister are hindering delivery. The letter requests clarification from you about immediate next steps and wants an update from you on the alternative interim proposal that you were making. Have you provided that clarification yet to the Minister? And if so, can we see a copy? And what discussions are ongoing on that?
So the Minister absolutely has a copy of that. So does staff at MHCLG. They've actually had a copy of that since February, and I'm very, very happy for you to see it. As I said earlier, it's a we very successfully transformed the LEP from a failing organisation into one that has been exceptional in its interventions in Cambridgeshire over the past 2 years, working as an independent business board under the governance of the Combined Authority. And the ambition was to create something similar, or is to create something similar with the GCP, working under one governance, working under one transport plan, working with the benefits of the whole of Cambridgeshire in mind.
So if you say the Minister has had that since February, why is he still asking for it in July?
I'm genuinely not sure, but I know, because I went to see the Minister with a copy of that letter in February, that the officials at MHCLG have had that documentation.
So if we were to ask whether the Minister was satisfied, the civil servants at MHCLG would say, yes, he's had the letter since February and he's happy.
Well, that's absolutely the situation as far as I'm concerned. We took that documentation down to London with us.
Okay, thank you. Fourthly, the Minister wants to see a unity of ambition and shared purpose in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. What are you doing as mayor to achieve that?
Well, I've been trying to achieve that now for the last 3 years, and it's been very, very difficult to get a unity of understanding and purpose. As I've said earlier in this meeting, it is highly detrimental to the rest of Cambridgeshire if one part of the county decides that it is above and beyond the transport plan and does not adhere to that. So, it is extremely important to create a situation in this county where we spread the wealth of the South across the whole of Cambridgeshire. It is an absolute disgrace that people who live in the Fens have a shorter lifespan than those who live in the south of Cambridge. It is ridiculous in the most advanced country in the world that you cannot link parts of the north of Cambridgeshire to parts of the south of Cambridgeshire. It is insane that to drive from Cambridge to Wisbech takes well over an hour and it's only 30 miles. And if we do not have a joined up transport policy, we will just perpetuate the failures that have gone before us. And the reason, as I said earlier, that mayors were brought in was to solve these local issues. And as I said earlier, the only city deal in the entire country that has not been absorbed into a combined authority is the one in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. And it is not working. We have too much government in Cambridgeshire. There is that we need to work together. We need to find mutual common ground and shared purpose, and we need to understand that the world doesn't begin and end at the A14. And until we do that, we will continue to have parts of the county that are disconnected and parts of the county where people can't afford to live. And what that does is the policies, if the policies are wrong, they will continue to force people out of the south of Cambridgeshire into the Fens, into North Hunts, into East Cambs, and then they're forced onto the road to drive into work because there's no suitable solution. So we have a fantastic solution right in front of us in Cam Metro. It will level up the entire county. We need to work with our partners at GCP to deliver the vision for One Cam, and we need to connect the whole county. It's just common sense.
But if I understand you correctly, what you were saying that the solution to unity of ambition and shared purpose was ultimately the absorption of the GCP into the combined authority.
I think that it's entirely appropriate that we share a governance and a vision for Cambridgeshire. And I have appealed to the GCP on a number of occasions to discuss this on a one-to-one basis. Those have been rebuked on every occasion. We have spoken about the mayor myself being part of the GCP board as a non-voting member. That has been rejected. We spoke about discussing the governance for Cambridgeshire. That has been rejected. It is very difficult to agree a common purpose with an authority or with an organisation, a committee that has no interest in joint working. So I'm heavily banging on the door here of the Greater Cambridge Partnership. I think that the issue lies deep. The Greater Cambridge Partnership is not a democratically elected body. Nobody's ever stood for election on the policies that it has. It is very heavily controlled by civil servants, and I believe that is a significant issue. We have to either believe in democracy or we do not believe in democracy. And I stood for election, and one of my significant policies was to deliver a metro system for Cambridgeshire. And I received more votes than anybody else, and I believe very much that it is my job to uphold the manifesto that I stood for. And I'm somebody, I think, who keeps my promises, and I've kept my promise on Peterborough University. I've kept it on Salem Railway Station. I've kept it on Wisbech Rail. I've kept it on the 100k home, and it's very difficult to keep that promise when there is an unelected organisation working at a cross purpose.
But ultimately, the fault, therefore, is entirely on their side.
No, I think the letter very clearly says that there is a fault on both sides, and I have to look at what I can do better to try and solve this issue. And as I said, it's difficult at the moment because I've never actually been invited to sit down and discuss these issues on a one-to-one with the GCP board. But I intend to try to find a way to get a resolution to this issue, which, as I said, may seem, if you are in Peterborough or Huntingdonshire or East Cambs or the Fens, it may seem irrelevant, but it's not irrelevant if policies that are put forward in and around Cambridge negatively affect on the ability to level up the rest of the county. And the ambition for Cam Metro is to reach the entirety of Cambridgeshire. It is to get into Peterborough. It is to solve public transport problems around the county and to prove that you can deliver world-class public transport in a rural county. And we believe we have the technology, the innovation, we have the desire, we have the ambition to do this. And it's been all too easy in the past for politicians to take the easy route. And believe you me, the easy route for me, Chairman, is to put my head down, not get involved, seek re-election, get re-elected, and just plod on. And I'm afraid that's just not the way I work. I want this to work. I want Cambridgeshire to work, and I want it to work just as much for Councillor Mason and Councillor Murphy as I want it to work for Councillor Scott and Councillor Somerville. I want it to work for absolutely everybody. And nobody can convince me at the moment that the way that the Cambridgeshire operates gives a fair and level playing field to everybody. And that is, to me, unacceptable.
One last question from me on the correspondence then, before I open this up to other members, is in the response, which is signed by yourself and some members of your board, you say, "I will write to you, to the Minister, shortly to outline our understanding of the current position." Has that letter been sent?
So the letter will be sent, I believe, today by the Chief Exec. I'm looking for a nod from Kim Sawyer. We have a leaders strategy meeting this afternoon. We will discuss that letter, and to be fair, you know the content of it because I've read it entirely to you today, and we will discuss that letter, and that letter will be sent this afternoon after the leaders strategy meeting that we have. If there is a
and can we have a copy?
You can, as I said, but I've read it entirely to you, but you can have a copy. And as I said, as I've said to you, Chairman, you know, there is nothing in this for us to hide from. We've been open and transparent from day one. We will do whatever MHCLG want us to do to comply with their legal questions, and there is absolute commitment to make sure that we deliver on their questions, and there always will be, and there always has been.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Other members, I'm sorry that's taken so long. If we could contain as much of this to time as possible, that would be helpful. Does anybody else have any questions? I see Councillor Somerville and then Councillor Murphy. This is on the correspondence.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I have two questions, if I may. Firstly, Mayor Palmer, last time we spoke, I believe I asked you about the recruitment process of Charles Roberts to a role with a £70,000 pro rata salary, and you assured me that this recruitment had followed all the normal procedures. We learned from Simon Clark's letter that the Employment Committee wasn't consulted to the extent it should be over recruitment to senior positions. They refer to this in the plural. You assure this it was a one-off. Is this a second typo on the part of the Minister, or is it a critique of normal procedure? My concern is, if it is normal procedure not to seek sufficient scrutiny of these appointments, the public can't have confidence that these quite lucrative senior roles are being given to the best qualified candidates rather than being jobs for the boys. So perhaps you can offer some of that reassurance.
Well, I think, and again, I will look for legal advice on this, but I think the difference, the point that MHCLG were making was around an appointment of a senior officer into a statutory position, and the point that you're making is about a political advisor role. As I said earlier, every other combined authority, every other mayor has one or two, or in some cases, many political advisors, and in the same way as in government, political advisors are the appointment of the democratically elected political member. And I don't think there is any example of a political advisor that's appointed by employment committee, but I will ask that to be clarified by my legal representatives.
Okay, thank you. So perhaps my understanding last time of normal procedures was more like a normal recruitment, whereas you're saying this is a special case, in this case, that it's a political role, not a public role.
Yeah,
my
well,
second...
hold
sorry,
on.
Yeah.
I think I asked for clarification from that by the legal team.
Sure, sorry.
Yeah, so sorry, Chair, if I'm happy to try and deal with that. I think, and I may need to ask Kim to come on this, because this does precede my involvement with the combined authority. I think what I can offer on this is that looking at the situation, we took advice clearly from leading counsel on a process, and that process was obviously we need to do that where there are instances of the law isn't clear and we want some clarification. It looks like proper reliance was made on that. That's now, as it were, being questioned to a degree, but where and we're working to accommodate those changes into process. And that's all above board, and it's all very transparent. But and sometimes these disagreements come out. But because I wasn't involved in the history of this one, I may just invite Kim just to comment if she could on that.
Thank you, Councillor Somerville. I think the easy answer to this is that the political advisory roles are not chief officer roles. So employment committee is engaged when chief officers are appointed to the organisation, and the political advisor roles are not chief officer roles. So traditionally those are appointed by the chief executive or directors of the organisation who are involved in the interviews for those roles. And clearly, because there are political roles, the mayor will be involved in that process also. I think the distinction that the minister was drawing out, that certainly the MHCLG were drawing out, is that did we follow correct process when recruiting to those roles? Because ordinarily roles require an advert and a job interview. Traditionally, political advisory roles don't have a job advert. Because people tend to be selected, but they still have to be appointed on merit, which means there still has to be an interview process. And so that's what the MHCLG is saying to us, that we need to ensure that all of those processes are embedded within our systems. And so that's what we are doing at the moment, is going through that protocol to ensure that they are. But I can assure you that both the previous two political advisor, Councillor Roberts and the former Councillor Roberts, Charles Roberts and Tom Hunt, were both interviewed by the mayor and appointed after the interview process to ensure that there was a process of merit and appointment on merit. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you very much to both Mayor Palmer and Kim Sawyer there. I'll move on to my second question in the interest of time. Again, when we last spoke, Mayor Palmer, I asked you about the Cam Metro. I asked whether there was a plan B in case the funding for the remarkably ambitious plans for tunnelling didn't materialise, and you assured me that there wasn't a need for a plan B because the existing plan was viable, robust, and would be successful. I'm hearing reports that the plans for Cambridge City are being reassessed, perhaps radically downgraded, and given that Plan A is no longer being followed and Plan B doesn't exist, I'm worried on behalf of my residents that they won't see the benefit from the programme they're expecting, and it may help other areas of the combined authority but not Cambridge, notwithstanding your comments around trying to spread the inequality, reduce the inequality in the region, and I do take your point on that. This does, however, I think raise a broader question, as flagged by the Minister in his letter, about the ability of the authority to deliver major projects, if they are not making contingency plans for unforeseen circumstances, as we're apparently seeing the consequences of now with the Cam Metro. So could you help me understand the way that you're going to respond to the Minister's comments about capacity, particularly around perhaps producing contingency plans for the various major projects that are going on?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is I'm not quite sure where you get your information from, but I can assure you it's erroneous. We have a very, very clear steer to deliver Cam Metro, exceptional work by Dr. David Cleaveley and his team, which is more than half the cost of Cam Metro, makes it, it was viable before, but it's absolutely viable now. We're very, very confident, more confident than ever, that we will be able to deliver this scheme within the timescale that we've suggested. And I think that it's in a really, really strong position. And as I said to you, I mentioned a number of projects that we are already delivering, so I will be very confident that the Combined Authority will be putting into place the right mechanisms to deliver this world-leading transport solution. And it is my view that this Cam Metro will be widely copied across the globe in cities of a similar size. I'll also assure you, Councillor Somerville, as I already mentioned to the chairman of this committee, that the Cambourne to Cambridge section of the St Neots to Haverhill route, I've already implemented 2 direct bus routes from September into one into Addenbrooke's and the other into Cambridge South Station. These are predominantly where the people who live in Cambourne who would be taking public transport work or use for work, and of course South Station of course is next to the Science Park, and if necessary, I've already spoken to the County Council about, if necessary, bringing forward potential bus routes at bus lanes at pinch points, as suggested to me by local members who know the area very, very well. So I can assure you, Councillor Somerville, that the solutions that we can put in place in the short term will be beneficial. We have a commitment to public transport, as I'm sure you would welcome, but I can't agree that just spending money on schemes for the sake of it is the right thing to do either. And we have to make sure that what we do in the short term is beneficial in the long term, and doesn't just move the problem from one part of Cambridgeshire to another part of Cambridgeshire.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify, I'm a substitute member, but I'm picking up on correspondence with officers, I think from Robert Fox, quoting that the CPCA is decided that the Cam City Tunnel section is in the process of being reassessed. I definitely agree with you that we don't want to spend money for the sake of it, but I think having a set of robust options and contingency plans is one way of avoiding that.
Yeah,
thank you.
I mean, can I just say, just to clarify that the outline business case for Cam Metro has been extended to take on board the work that has been delivered by Dr. Cleaveley and the groundbreaking work that he's done. When we talk about reassessed, it absolutely is reassessed to make sure that we deliver the best possible solution. It's very easy to say, well, light rail works in London, therefore we must do it elsewhere. But making sure that we get the delivery right for Cambridge and Cambridgeshire and the Fens and potentially Peterborough is what's most important.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Somerville. I thought I had called Councillor Murphy next, but I don't see his hand up.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
Right, okay, Councillor Murphy next and then Councillor Scott.
And Chair, I'll try to stick to where we're at, and it's the correspondence.
Which is the correspondence.
Miss Mayor Palmer, there's so much more I'd like to talk to you about, but we'll do that elsewhere about other issues. On the correspondence, to me, you talk about the goalposts not being set, etc., etc. I don't think the goalposts were actually in place when transport came to the Combined Authority just before the elections. And I'm wondering whether the Minister actually knows, well, he does know, but whether he's reflected upon the fact that you're elected and you have a role as the elected person. It sounds to me as though this letter is not all about process and history. There's a lot there about the Housing Act 89 and politically restricted posts, etc., etc. It just sounds as the Minister's being a bit stroppy. And I'm wondering what previous letters from the Minister have been like and whether they've been in this tone or not. And I do hope you're able to resolve the problems. Is there another game being played here? And if there are previous correspondence from the Minister, maybe we could have a look just to see how he used to write to you previously.
Of course, the minister's only been in place since February, so he hasn't had a great deal of time to have a lengthy correspondence with us. Whether there are other games being played, I can't say whether there are games being played or not. You would have to assess for yourself, Councillor Murphy, whether you feel that games can be played by civil servants. I can't possibly quote on that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Scott.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and good morning, Mayor Palmer. I'd just like to follow up on a couple of matters on the letter, and I'm referring to paragraph 2, which refers to delivery of ambitious projects. And a former colleague has raised the issue of the Cam Metro, but I would like to raise some issues about that too, because you say that matters are proceeding in an orderly manner from what I hear, but I would like to ask, what is the total budget for delivery of this ambitious project? How much has already been spent on it? What is the source that is available for the project to actually be completed, that is to be put in place? What is the time frame for delivery, and what consultation has there been with the university colleges, for example, as to the original proposal that there be underground tracks in the centre of Cambridge? And I would also like to ask that in the future, the Task and Finish group, of which I am a member, be actually provided with the information it seeks before announcements are made by the combined authority as to conclusions that have been reached on the Cam Metro project, when the Task and Finish group has been unable to actually task and finish its report. So, Mayor Palmer, are you able to respond to each of those questions?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that the Cam Metro project is massive. There's no doubt about that. It's the most ambitious public transport solution ever attempted outside London, for as far as the UK is concerned. And I make no apology for that, because I am ambitious for this county, and I see a county that's been absolutely abhorrently treated by governments of all colours over many, many years, and we are having to deal with the consequences of that right now, right before our very eyes, and that's why we don't have a levelled up county. In order to deliver a project of this scale, you have to listen to advice of those who've been out there and done it before, and that's exactly what we've done. So we've gone to the industry, we've gone to people who've delivered the Olympic Games in Sydney and in London, we've gone to people who've delivered major infrastructure elsewhere in the world, and asked them how you go about this. And what is clear is you have to set up a special purpose vehicle, a company to deliver one of these standard and one of these styles of schemes. You can't just do it from your spanners and screwdrivers you've got sitting in your toolbox in your shed. This is something that deserves and needs international people of international repute and renown. So that's the first thing. So we have the money to set that system up. There is a board decision to be made. The papers were released yesterday to deliver that initial special purpose vehicle that will take us through the process. We also have set aside through the readjustment of the budget enough money to deliver the business case for the combined authority. During that period of time, Councillor Scott, we will be able to, I'm very confident, raise the funds necessary through either government intervention or private finance to deliver this scheme. And again, I make no apology for ambition for Cambridgeshire. I've seen Cambridgeshire done down many, many times, and schemes put forward that frankly are not deserving of the people of Cambridgeshire. And I make no apology for that ambition, and I will continue that ambition. And I expect fully that there will be people who say all the way along, you can't do it, you won't be able to afford it, you're over ambitious, it's a vanity project. I don't care about those things. What I care about is delivery for the people of Cambridgeshire. All through my political career, people have said to me, you can't do it. You won't be able to get a deep Ely bypass. Nobody in Ely will ever go to the cinema. Don't campaign for some railway station. It will never happen. Why are you bothering with Peterborough University? It's never been done before. It's never going to happen. I love being told things can't be done. And the more people tell me they can't be done, the more ambitious I get. So I believe in Cambridge, I believe in Cambridgeshire, and I believe in the people that live here. And I believe very strongly that the only way to solve our problem on transport is to have the world's leading and most exciting transport system. And that's exactly what we are going to provide. And we will do it in incremental stages. Of course, I don't happen to have a couple of £1 billion in my back pocket as we speak, but I do have the ability to put forward world-leading technology into a full business case, and from there, with significant reputation of those individuals who will be involved in this, gain the finances necessary to solve this problem for the council.
Thank you, Mayor Palmer. If I could just follow up on that, and then I have one other area that I'll seek to deal with concisely. But continuing on this CAM Metro, I understand that over £500,000 has already been spent, and now the proposal is to set up this CAM delivery company when we don't know the detail of the CAM Metro project, when at the last meeting of the Task and Finish group at which officers attended, when questions were raised about the viability of this project, one of the officers actually mentioned Brisbane as a template for this project. Now, Brisbane consists in 2019 of 2.514 million people and is expanding at between 30,000 and 140,000 people annually. In Cambridge, we have some 450,000 people, and I would suggest that comparing Cambridge with a metropolis of 2.514 million is just inappropriate. I come back to this letter. As I accept, ambition is laudable, but it would appear that the Minister has some considerable concerns about the ambitious projects that are on offer here, and is raising the question of the need for robust professional advice in relation to projects. And I really do have to strongly suggest that good advice is necessary on this project before more money from Cambridgeshire is spent on setting up this Cambridge delivery company when we really do not know the detail of what is to be delivered. And I'm a resident of Cambridgeshire. I'm not just a resident of Cambridge City, and my concerns are equally for every resident of this shire as well as the city itself. And what I can see is that the combined authority originally had on its program the need for an extensive and ambitious bus project, which would ensure that people from the villages could come in and out, could travel round and about with some considerable facility. And that's actually not being provided. Meanwhile, we're spending over £550,000 on this project, which really is ambitious, yes, but is it deliverable? The Minister's raising questions in my view. And meanwhile, the villagers are stuck in the villages with buses that come very infrequently or not at all. So I come back.
Could I ask you to come to your question,
yes,
please?
Yes, I'm coming to my question. I'm coming to the question, which is, how does the Mayor justify setting up this CAM delivery company when we don't know the detail of this CAM Metro scheme?
Okay, so a number of points in there that I think needs to be addressed. First of all, the ambition for CAM Metro is to prove that you can deliver world-class public transport in cities like Cambridge and in counties like Cambridgeshire. We are absolutely not trying to do anything like Brisbane. I've told you you should look at the work by Dr. Cleveley, how affordable it is, how exciting it is, how transformational it is, and this is the basis of what we're trying to achieve. I would also correct you on 450,000 people in Cambridge. Cambridge City itself is around 125,000 or so, and Greater Cambridge area makes up around 300,000. So let's not over egg the pudding of the size of Cambridge. but also let's look at the ambition of Cambridgeshire and what can be achieved here. When it came to consultation, the recent consultation of 6,000 people, 80% of them were in favour of delivering Cam Metro. You talk about £500,000 as being a lot of money, and I appreciate it is. It buys you about a third of a roundabout at the moment. And therefore, I believe it is wise to spend this money in order to deliver on what we're trying to achieve here, which is world-leading technology. And when you say you should be going out and taking advice from experts, that's exactly what we have done. That's exactly what we've been doing, and that's exactly why we're setting up the special purpose vehicle. It is the right thing to do at the right time, and we have the technology, as once said, if those of us are old enough to remember the TV programme, we have the technology to rebuild this county, and we absolutely will.
Just one last question then, and thank you so much for the correction on the 450,000. In fact, our figures do match, because I was referring to Cambridgeshire, which includes Cambridge City. Thank you. My final issue, though, is on the matter of housing, and that's already been raised as a concern by the chair. But my question is, there is some understanding within the community that further housing funds are not forthcoming to the combined authority because of the concerns about the 40 million use of the 100 million that in the housing project. And as a consequence of that concern about the 40 million, the additional monies are not forthcoming. And I would appreciate your response to that notion that is abroad. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm not sure that that's been mentioned in any correspondence. What's been mentioned in the correspondence, I'm sure, is around the March 21 and March 22 issue. It's already been mentioned to this committee. We have a meeting in September where I'm very confident we will be able to iron out these issues, and the team are working on it at the moment.
I'm very pleased that you are confident, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Scott. I saw earlier Councillor Chamberlain wanting to ask something, and then I had Councillor Fane, I think, wanting to ask a question. Councillor Chamberlain, are you still wanting to raise a question?
Thanks, Chair. My question has been answered in James's responses elsewhere. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fane. You're still on mute, Councillor Fane. And now you appear to have disappeared altogether. I think I'm going to have to move us on in view of the time. Are there any oh, sorry, Councillor Mason, is this related to correspondence still?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's more a comment rather than a question. I was an original member of this committee in 2017, and the Mayor at that time had considerable resistance from the Greater Cambridge Partnership. I went away, I've come back last month onto the committee, and we still have this deadlock, or it appears to be. I would like to say that the Mayor has put forward this morning feasible options to solving this problem, and I do believe as a committee we should support him in what he's trying to do. He is, after all, the elected member. Just a comment I'd like to make. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Mason. In Councillor Fane's absence, can I ask then, wrapping up on the correspondence issue, whether there are any non-correspondence questions that anybody wishes to ask the Mayor? I'm very mindful indeed of time at this point, however. I have Councillor Murphy. Councillor Murphy, you're on mute.
Yes, it's a question on cycling and walking. The Mayor mentioned 2.9 million the combined authority had been able to obtain from government, and that was put into projects. I know transport is a wicked issue because it isn't with the combined authority because it's been put back to Cambridgeshire and to Peterborough, and we've got that other factor that he talked about at length. But people in Peterborough, for example, aren't sure, is it the mayor that's making direction when the local authority says it's their highways department that's saying where cycle routes are going, etc., etc. Can we clarify whose proposes these things and whose decision it is? I believe it's the council, but it's the mayor's money, so to speak. And also people have been asked if we could have more money to go towards cycles, pedestrians, even bridleways, and get more of the highway over to those, please.
Yeah, so the reality is it's me that goes to government to get the money, and it's the county council and the Peterborough City Council that are the highways authorities that build out the schemes. And you know, so we are working very closely together. I think we did fantastically well to get initial 2.3 million, 2.9 million, I think, of which Peterborough got about 860 or something like that, give or take. And I've already seen the interventions that have been made in Peterborough. And look, like Cambridge has got its Mill Road argument, and Peterborough's got its Cowgate argument going on. But the direction from government, I had a letter yesterday, as did all local authorities leaders, and it was very clear that cycling should be front and centre of transport solutions in our cities. So we have got a wide-ranging number of schemes across the whole of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. That absolutely includes our market towns and villages, and we will be going back to government for more funds to allow our highways authorities to implement the changes.
Thank you very much for your reply and your assurance that you'll be going for more funds. In Peterborough, the council have not been meeting, so people from Cowgate have been very, very confused about who's making the decision. I think you've clarified it's not you, it's the local council they should be lobbying.
Yeah, I mean, I just give them the cash.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Chamberlain.
Thank you very much, James. Firstly, many thanks for implementing the bus systems from Camborne to the destinations that the residents actually wish to go. You will be well aware, of course, that the routes proposed and totally intransigent to any input from the intervening villages. There was likely to be massive damage to the communities of both Hardwick and Coton. And I'm most grateful for those buses that you've put in place, which will postpone any damage that might have to be done. But I wonder if you can give us any idea of the time frame by which an alternative route might come forward for any form of transport, long-term transport corridor from Camborne to Cambridge. Thank you.
Yeah, so I've always said that we're working to a 2023 to 2029 construction for Cam. We have our ideas about a solution to the Camborne to Cambridge section of the St Neots to Haverhill route, and we will be continuing to work on those to make sure that what is proposed for that route is actually beneficial not just to the villages and to Camborne and to the university and to the wider the destinations around Cambridge, but also beneficial to St Neots and the wider area as well. And that's of prime importance. Added to that, the technology that we wish to implement to deliver the schemes offers significantly less impact on the environment. And you'll be aware, Councillor Chamberlain, of what was proposed at Hardwick in particular, and how unpopular that was, but also issues around Coton. So it is important to get this right. It's entirely, in my view, the wrong thing just to bludgeon through an inappropriate solution when there is a better solution available to us. So I haven't got an exact timeline to give you, which is what you've asked for, but I assure you work is ongoing, and we will try to work alongside the GCP to find the right solution.
Thank you, I'm most grateful.
Okay, thank you. We now have Councillor Fane back with us, and I'm going to give Councillor Fane the opportunity to ask the last question of the Mayor, please.
Thank you. My apologies for leaving you briefly just then, technical problems. Good afternoon, Mayor. Peter Fane from South Cambridgeshire. I'm a substitute member here today. Your officers have kindly shared with us the reply to the Minister's letter. The Minister's letter was to you, and you've, from the looks of it, invited some of your board members to join you in signing that. Should we assume that 2 of the signatures are on page 3, which we haven't seen? Is there any significance to the fact that 2 local authority leaders would appear not to have signed the letter?
You will have to ask them, Councillor Fane. I'm not answerable for individuals in Cambridgeshire, as you would expect.
Fair enough. Can I just follow that in relation to the GCP? You have stressed throughout you want to have an integrated system, St Ives to Haverhill. That goes obviously just a little bit beyond the county boundary. Can we assume this relates to the whole system, including, of course, there's been a lot of discussion about the arrangements you've put in place instead of the so-called C2C. Does it include the proposed CSET Phase 2 busway as well?
Well, I haven't been given any. I haven't actually seen the proposals for the section between Cambridge and Granta Park, so I haven't got anything to comment on that at this moment in time. I think the reality is that and I think we have to have our eyes open here, members of Scrutiny Committee. The government in the budget announced East-West Rail. And they announced significant housing for the Cambridge area, including a new town. A new town for Cambridge would be in between, obviously, Cambridge and Camborne. And that new town would be of a significant size. They're saying the size of Cambridge. We either sit back and blindly ignore what government are suggesting and ignore the growth of Cambridgeshire and ignore the housing cost of the south of Cambridgeshire, or we set into action our own policies to deliver the necessary housing. And rather than burden that entire amount of housing on one very small section of Cambridgeshire, we can use Cam Metro to deliver that housing across a wider area, deliver it in a more environmentally friendly way and a more inclusive way. And we can include our neighbours in Haverhill and in Mildenhall. We can include our neighbours or your neighbours in Huntington and South Cambridgeshire, and we could include their neighbours in Fenland and eventually, of course, into Peterborough. And it's all about the levelling up agenda. If we continue to plough forward a public transport that goes no more than 7 or 8 miles outside Cambridge, we just perpetuate the problem that we have had over many, many years. We perpetuate the issue with park and ride. So we would then have to, as a consequence, Councillor Fane, if we just built a busway out to Granta Park, we would have to dual carriageway the A1307, which is not something that I think is very popular in your part of the county. We would also have to look at doing similar schemes on roadways around Cambridgeshire. So there is cause and effect to ineffectual public transport solutions, and also there's cause and effect to not having our eyes open to the need for housing delivery. I mentioned earlier on in this meeting that we're delivering 5,000 homes a year fewer in Cambridgeshire than necessary. That's of now. I fully expect this county to lead the economy out of the COVID recession, and I fully expect the economy in Cambridgeshire to provide a greater number of jobs than it is at this moment in time. And if we have our eyes wide shut to this issue, if we bury our head in the sands and try only to deliver up to local plans, the consequences will be a massive new settlement where we have no local control at all. So that's the brutal reality of where we are, and we have to be wise and we have to be ambitious to solve the problems, as I've said, for the whole of this county.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Mayor Palmer, thank you very much indeed to everybody who has asked questions. I'm sorry I let that run on a bit, but as we're not currently slated to see the Mayor until December, I thought it was worth taking advantage of the opportunities. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Farewell, Mayor Palmer. I apologise, as I say, for having let this run on. As I say, I thought it was important, but we will move on now, and I'm very sorry to Kim Cook to have kept her waiting all this while to talk to us about the University of Peterborough. Is Kim with us, and is she, hello, I see Kim coming up on our screens. So Kim is going to give us an overview and a PowerPoint presentation, which may or may not be the same thing. Hello, Kim, and welcome to our meeting. Apologies to have kept you waiting so long.
No worries.
Welcome to our meeting. Can I ask you to pitch straight in? I understand you're going to give us an overview and some sort of PowerPoint presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Chair, and good afternoon, committee members. If I could start with the presentation, I think it sort of gives you the flavour of where we are now and what's been achieved. So I would like to sort of share that with you so that you can see what it looks like. And then I would also then sort of like to go through the salient points of the board paper, and that identifies what is covered within the board paper and the full business case. And then obviously we can sort of discuss as well the risks and the post-COVID-19 pandemic and how this may affect this project. So thank you very much, Sue. So if I can start the presentation, very delighted to announce that Anglia Ruskin University will become the HE academic delivery partner for the phase 1 of the new University of Peterborough. So thank you. Excellent. So I'm hoping everybody knows exactly where this university is to be situated, but just to sort of reiterate, it is on the Warina car park of Peterborough City with views of the cathedral. It is our ambition that the university campus will run from the Bishop's Road site south towards the embankment and the river as it expands, but phase 1 will be, as I say, located on that car park. A new place for Peterborough. Thank you, Sue. So this is a very old picture, I think, of the car park, and obviously visuals of how we're expecting it to look once we've sort of completed the project with the landscaping, the public realm space, as I say, the views of the cathedral, and the opportunities for a green and welcoming campus. It is our ambition that this university campus will be sort of, it sits within the cycleways and the walkways, and encourage people to walk through your city centre, spending money as they go, in order to achieve what will be an incredibly vibrant space on the embankment. Thank you. So this is the artist's impression of what this university phase 1 building will look like. It is a 5,300 square metre building. It is 3 stories high. There is plenty of glass for natural light, and the roof lights that have sort of been the subject of discussion through the consultation are actually, you know, sort of allowing more light into the centre of the building and obviously increases ventilation within that building. Thank you. So what are we looking at delivering within the first phase? Well, there's 4 faculties within the first phase. The first one is business, innovation and entrepreneurs. That's sort of, you know, from the Opportunity Peterborough survey that was run in May 2019, that sort of came out top as something that Peterborough businesses really need, the opportunities for scaling up innovations and supporting young entrepreneurs, and well, entrepreneurs of all ages, to be fair. We're also looking at creative arts and science, agri-tech, environment, sustainability, and health and education. Thank you. So that's 4 faculties to begin with, and they will be housed within this 3-floor building. This is obviously an opportunity to have a good look or a first look at the ground floor with a lecture theatre at the front and a lot of informal learning space at the heart of the building, again with a huge atrium and a lot of natural light. Thank you, Sue. Obviously, specialist skills spaces, they will be attributed and put to the different faculties. And sort of we're hoping to be able to ensure that we have a lot of interdisciplinary learning, and so that sort of although faculties will have space, it will be space that is timetabled and fully used by everybody in the building. Thank you, Sue. So on the second floor, I just want to draw your attention to the sort of the terrace, the cathedral terrace, because that's going to give us a fantastic opportunity for celebrations, events, and obviously to drink in that amazing view of Peterborough Cathedral. Thanks, Sue. So is that the slide moving on, Sue? Sorry. Brilliant. Just a cross section of the building, identifying, as I say, sort of the work that the roof lights are actually achieving within that building through the central staircase. Very informal and very open and very light, flexible and agile. Thank you. And we're looking at this building as a BREEAM very good, so that we can ensure that that's what we achieve through sustainability and through the systems that we're using. Thank you, Sue. Oh, that's, yeah, bottom of the slide. And that's the current latest visual. It's got NUP on there because obviously when we had the artwork done, we weren't able to announce that ARU were the new partner. NUP stands for New University Peterborough, but actually, as we now know, following the launch, it will be mobilised by ARU and it will be known as ARU Peterborough. Thank you very much. So I think that's the end of the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Sue, for handling the visuals.
Yes.
And thank you, Kim, for your presentation. Members, do you have any questions that you would like to ask him or any comments you would like to make on the presentation that you've seen? Don't all rush at once. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you for the presentation and showing us the design with the roof terrace over the cathedral for people to go drinking in. I'm not sure whether the Director of Public Health would be happy about that, but it looks good. What I'd like to ask is, will we be able to properly reevaluate things? Because at the moment in higher education in the United Kingdom, there are some significant changes. A lot of young people in Peterborough would like apprenticeships or something else, but they don't exist. And I think other universities' financial streams are in jeopardy because of the pandemic and what students may be doing later this year and in future years. So what are we going to do if the economics don't stack up?
Yes, of course. Thank you. If I take this question and then I can refer it on to John Hill, who I think is on this call as well.
No, John isn't here with us today. Kim Sawyer is with us.
Okay, cool. So, to answer your question, Councillor Murphy, you're absolutely right. At the moment, you know, where we are with COVID and the issues we've got around apprenticeships, is the fact that we are going to have to work harder to keep these going, basically. This university, as you know, is sort of the delivery model of this university is predicated on degree apprenticeships and workplace learning. So it's not all about the 3-year degree followed by the master program, the undergrad, postgrad. It's very much a technical university based on vocational qualifications and the qualifications that meet the need of the skills gaps within the market. you're absolutely right. The skills gaps that we're aware of from the SPEAR, the local industrial strategy, and the skills strategy will be very different, we feel, from the skills gaps once post-COVID. So it's absolutely imperative that the HE partner is flexible and agile. And I do believe that AIU have this wealth of experience in degree apprenticeships and growing also the high level apprenticeships. So government are obviously going to promote that, and they are going to offer £3,000 for an apprentice if you take one on for the businesses. But COVID-19 recovery will be key to the success of this university. And we've had those conversations already. We held workshops and meetings before we put the full business case together in order to stress test the marketplace and to give confidence around resilience. But you're absolutely right, the HE landscape will look quite different going forward. We feel that we were slightly ahead of the curve with the delivery model of this new university being predicated on digitalization and technologies, and therefore not everybody needing to be within a campus site and environment in Peterborough, and actually linking, as I say, the degree apprenticeships and the higher level apprenticeships into the business need of the region. But I don't know if John, if you wanted to say any more about sort of the COVID resilience that we've put in place already that I haven't already covered.
We have John T. Hill with us now. So, John, do you have anything to add on COVID resilience?
Looks like he's frozen.
Looks like
I think he has.
I think so.
It's not usually that still, so I think he has frozen.
Oh dear, sorry about that. Never mind. Let us move on then. I have.
Sorry, could I just ask, just to clarify, the
much,
athletics track, which is currently closed,
Yeah.
and the Lido, are either of them part of this site now?
It's all part of Peterborough City Council's embankment site, and at the moment there are no plans for us with the university campus to remove any of that. But it needs. They will stay as far as we are aware in order to support the campus life and vibrancy of the campus.
Okay, thank you. We now seem to have John T. Hill back with us. Apologies for temporary interference. John, did you have anything to say about COVID resilience and the university in the light of what Kim has said?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. COVID resilience has been examined in detail, and there are 4 very specific dimensions to the COVID resilience, and indeed, to answer the question fully, the HE sector vulnerability resilience as well. Those 4 aspects are the delivery model of the university, the financial strength of the delivery partner, AIU, and the commercial model of that partner, but also the target market that we're addressing. So first, the delivery model. Unusually, this is a 35% on-site delivery model that is already well below what many universities are now striving to achieve due to social distancing, trying to achieve to get down to. So our model was already well below an on-site delivery model target that many universities are trying to achieve to become COVID resistant. That was actually not because of COVID. It was the reason for that was we simply couldn't afford to build what's called a Robbins 1960 university, which relies on pretty much full on-site delivery. The second issue is the university partner itself. Many universities are now struggling to make their financial models work, as I'm sure some of you know, and are doing so because of their high dependence on international students. Universities make very little margin from teaching. They make a loss on doing research, so they actually rely on doing commercial work for businesses and on international students to bolster their finances. Our procured partner does not suffer from these weaknesses in their financial model. Their research volume is very, very modest, requiring them to make, not requiring them to make lots of profit elsewhere to contribute to their research costs. Their overseas student volume is tiny compared to most other universities, so they're not reliant on the profits from that revenue stream either. And then thirdly, on that area, their on-site versus off-site delivery model across all their campuses of Peterborough, Chelmsford, Cambridge and London means that their percentage of costs on their sites is very low. And of course, it's your fixed costs that are hard to reduce when your revenues, because of student volumes, are shrinking. So that also makes them very resilient as an organisation. The third area is the actual commercial model of this university in Peterborough, which is very, very different. Unlike many universities, and because this is in startup, we've negotiated a 10-year rent-free period on the building, and that provides significant resilience for unforeseen challenges on their student volumes during startup. The partner themselves, ARU, have also provisioned as much as £5 million worth for potential losses, a very, very prudent use and investment of their reserves that adds more resilience against flexing and fluctuation in student volumes, either because of HE sector instability, for instance, student fees being cut, or the subsidy for student fees being cut by government. And finally, one of the reasons we selected this partner was that they were already present in Peterborough, giving them around 500 healthcare students to instantly drop into this model and onto this university, giving them a real flying start. That also means they're already well connected with the businesses and local employers. And then very finally, the fourth one is the target market. As a new university, we had the invidious task of launching a university at a time when a number of universities were saying they were going to go bust, and lots of people were saying that it's completely insane to launch a new university in such a market. So what we did is we adopted something called a blue ocean strategy. That being one that avoids the red ocean of heavily competed markets with too few customers and too little differentiation between the providers in that market. Hence, we knew at the outset we couldn't offer the same thing as all the other universities were offering, because we'd never compete with them. What that is a remote from your hometown experience for 3 years, where you go to a new town, you gather lots and lots of experience and stuff, and then potentially you then go home back to your existing town, against which they would students would of course look for an established university. There was no way we were going to compete for that type of market. So instead, what we've done is we've looked at this blue ocean strategy of 4 other segments. That is 18 to 24-year-olds living locally. Now, in this catchment area, HE or people in full-time education between 18 and 24 are only 24% relative to a 33% average. So that gives you nearly 10% of students that would otherwise go to universities that don't do that in our catchment area. So we would very much focus on them, and amongst them, lots of young people in communities that don't really want their 18 to 24-year-olds to go to another city to have an experience. They actually want them to have a degree, but to stay at home for various cultural and other reasons. So that gives us 10% of 97,500 18 to 24-year-olds in the catchment to go at. The second target market is first-generation students of all ages, and actually moving into, through social media and potentially TV advertising as well, people that are more mature, that are changing careers and getting a degree. The third is workers displaced from sectors hit by COVID and are seeking retraining and reskilling into higher value careers and into other sectors. And this is an area of much greater collaboration between the HE sector and the businesses, and that's already started with our new partner. And then the last sector or market target segment is bespoke programs for companies, corporates, and apprenticeship programs. And one must remember here that the partner we've selected was the first partner, or was the first university in 12 years to deliver a new medical school, and is already the largest degree apprenticeship provider in the UK and one of the biggest developers of degree apprenticeships. So that's pretty much it. In summary, it is the delivery model, which means that we're already very low on-site delivery, the financial strength of the partner, the commercial model we've given them as a startup, which has got lots of flex and subsidy in it, for instance, through rent-free 10 years, and the target market we've focused them on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Scott.
Yes, I'll be very quick. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave at 1. I'm actually teaching online. But I just wanted to say that from what's been said, it does appear that it's a very positive approach, because even within traditional universities and traditional courses such as law, there is a recognition that there's an absolute need for practical skills learning as well as the academic learning. And I want to give a plug at this right minute. I teach at the University of Buckingham and teach law, and we've for a long time had the Law Clinic and Street Legal, which are both orientated towards practical skills learning, interviewing real clients with, of course, supervision, and then going into magistrates' court, sitting with judges and so on. So I just wanted to applaud the model because it's
Councillor
really
Scott.
vital. Thank you.
Councillor Scott, I'm very concerned that you've just said you're going to need to leave at 1 o'clock, because if you do, we will be in quorate and we will be unable to conclude the remainder of the business. I'm in the hands of officers now to advise, because I think there are a number of things we do need to do before we become in quorate, not least of which is to agree the questions we are going to ask the board. So can I ask, therefore, officers, is your advice that we hold fire on anything else and simply skip to that item in order to ensure that we can put questions to the board? Because we'll have to abandon the meeting at the point at which Councillor Scott leaves.
I'm happy to jump in on that, Chair. So you can't, without being quorate, the committee can't formally transact its business. So anything that you consider that you want to dispose of today on a formal basis, you should do so whilst the meeting remains quorate.
Thank you. In that case, with apologies to Kim Cook, can I please draw this to a close and move quickly to resolve the other items in the remaining few minutes that we have, and apologies to everybody else who wished to speak. My view is that firstly we need to transact item 7, which is to appoint a lead member to the business board. My understanding is that the arrangement, in view of who's put their names forward, is that we have Councillor Murphy shadowing the business board, Councillor Scott shadowing housing. Are we happy to make those appointments? I see nobody objecting, so thank you for item 7. Item 8 is the other item I think we need to transact, which is the board agenda. I have a number of questions I would like us to put to the board, and if I could just run very quickly through those, if I can find my paperwork. Sorry, I'm now, yes. Item 3.1 of the board agenda was on the housing changes and the reorganisation of loans there, and I was wanting to ask about the opportunity costs of that arrangement. Are you happy for me to ask what are the opportunity costs of rearranging those loans?
Agreed.
Yeah. Thank you. Second question was on the CAM SPV, where it talked about the longer term benefit to Peterborough and Fens, and I wanted to ask how that was going to be achieved.
Agreed.
I also understood that Councillor Murphy wanted to wrap up in that something about buses and cycling as well. So are you happy for us to work out the exact wording of that bit?
Agree to delegate that, yeah.
Thank you. 3.3 on the A10, we wanted to ask how the public response to the online exhibition was going to be shared. Yeah, happy with that? 3.5, the Market Town Master Plans, I wanted us to ask what flexibility there would be in applying for funding for things that weren't in the master plans, given the lack of local public engagement in the production of the master plans. Are we happy with that? Yes. And finally, the Insight programme, I wanted to ask about the timescale of that and the conflict potentially between doing things that are urgent as well as things that are important long term when it comes to COVID recovery. Great. Yeah, are we happy on those? Is there anything else before we let Councillor Scott go and we become in core 8 that we need to transact? I think, are we happy to accept the work plan as it is and to make any alterations to that offline? Yep. Then lead member questions to the executive committees. I think we have that in writing, don't we? The responses to the skills questions. So I don't think we need to do anything on that. And then we have date and time of next meeting. And I think that we will have finished the agenda at that point. Is everybody content with that? Have I missed anything out? Thank you very much.
And thank you very much. I do appreciate it. And I'm sorry I had to interrupt in this way. Apologies.
Thank you very much to members and officers. And I'm now closing the meeting at this point. Thank you.
Thank you all very much indeed. Goodbye.
Bye.
Take care all. Bye.